Hello, Change School. My name is Jalpan, and today I want to talk to you about how you can automate your finances so that you can spend consciously on the things you love the most without really having to think too much about it or really having to rely on discipline or willpower. First, let me share with you a little bit more about myself and how I got here. See, when I was 13 years old, one of my dad's friend gave him a copy of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And for whatever reason, even though I was only 13 years old, that book really appealed to me. So I spent my entire summer holidays reading that book. And because of that, for the rest of my life, all the way until I graduated college and until today, I've always been interested in investing, personal finance, entrepreneurship, and really how to make money work for you. So I learned a lot over the years about money and how it works, and also how you can make sure you spend consciously so that you can enjoy the things you love the most and still have a safe and secure future. And today, I want to share with you exactly how to do it, and I'll give you the tools and resources you need to make it work for you as well. So let's dive right in. All right, so let's begin. Firstly, let's discuss why is it important to spend consciously, right? What would happen if we spend frivolously? Well, the answer may seem obvious, but let's spell it out anyway. Number one, of course, we don't want to get into too much debt. Spending too much on your credit card and not being able to pay it back and paying interest all your life isn't exactly a fun life. Number two, you want to spend consciously so that you have enough for future expenses. You also want to have enough money saved up in case there's an emergency, perhaps a medical emergency, or your car broke down and you need to get it repaired, for those kind of stuff. Of course, we also want to be able to spend on things that we love. In order to do that, we must be conscious with our spending so that we channel our money towards the things we love and do not waste it on things we don't. And lastly, of course, we want to be able to take care of our loved ones besides ourselves. So these are the reasons why we want to spend consciously. Unfortunately, we do not always do it, right? We have the knowledge, we know what we want to spend on, we know we must save money, but we do not end up doing it. Why? Because psychology shows us that our willpower is very limited. As humans, it is completely impractical to constantly be making money decisions every day. It's mentally exhausting. You see, your mental energy is almost like fuel in a car. It's limited. It needs to be refilled through rest or through something and recuperation. So, for example, imagine that all your money, say $5,000 in savings, is piled up into one bank account. You don't really have a strategy to decide what and how much you should spend on. You pass by a store and you look at $100 jeans that you really like. Well, can you afford it? Well, what would happen if you spend $100 there? Would you rather spend it somewhere else? Will it really affect your financial future? Can I afford to eat at this restaurant? My friends have invited me. Can I go? How about that trip they're taking? They're going bicycling in Myanmar, for example. Can I really afford that? What would be the consequence of that? We are bombarded by so many decisions every day. So if you don't have a plan, how are you going to make these decisions? Which is why, because our willpower is limited and because we have limited mental strength, a typical spending habit goes something like this. The first of the month, we say, you know what, this month I'm going to save more and spend less. Yeah. And then the next 15 days, you're on track. So you tell yourself, hey, I'm doing really well, I'm on track. Then the third week of the month, you tell yourself, oh, I've had a hell of a month. Let me go out with my friends, treat myself a little. I think I deserve it. And then you pass by a store and you see that, oh, there's a sale at the store. So you might think, oh, this is a good opportunity for me to save some money on whatever it is that you want to buy. At the end of the month, your credit card statement comes in. You look at it, you can't believe it. You thought you'll be more disciplined this month, but you spent more than you expected. You tell yourself, oh my God, how did I spend this much? It must be a mistake. But as you review your statement, you say, heck no, all these expenses were really made by me. And then you tell yourself, I guess I just need to try harder next month. However, the problem is that as humans, it's hard to change habits easily. The key is to accept that you are going to make some bad decisions. There's no shame here, right? There's no need to feel bad that you don't have as much willpower as you thought, or your friend seems to be doing better than you do, and why can't you do it? Is something wrong with you? No. It's actually better to accept that this is how humans are. We have limited willpower and we are going to make some bad decisions once in a while. So the key is not to rely on this willpower or so-called discipline and to avoid making bad decisions. Instead, the key is to design a system that makes it impossible for you to make bad decisions. That's really the key. Now let's look at how we can do that. Number one, we want to plan our expenses. Plan where you want your money to go. And I'll show you in just a minute exactly how you can do that. The next step is to decide what kind of emergencies you want to prepare for. Are you preparing for a medical emergency in case you fall sick and need to go to the hospital? Do you want to prepare for a job loss so you have enough savings to keep going in case you lose your job? If you use a vehicle, you might want to prepare for a car accident. What if your vehicle is your only way to commute to and from work? What then? That's the first step. You want to decide what emergencies you want to prepare for. And then you want to check with your HR representative what are your company's policies on the above. So for example, your employer may already provide you with some medical insurance. You just may not know exactly what it is. Likewise, what is your company's policy in case you get retrenched? Are they going to give you some severance pay? If so, how many months worth? You want to find that out and have that information. Next, we want to have some numbers handy. So you want to know what your rent or your mortgage payment is every month, and how much do you typically spend on, say, utilities, cable, your phone bill, etc. Just look at your past statements and find out how much it is. And then you're ready to plan your personal expenses and then automate them. Let me take you into my personal cash flow planner and show you exactly how I do it and how you can do it too. So here's my Excel sheet, which I like to call my personal cash flow planner. And in the first tab, what you have is your income. Now for my example, I'm going to use my income back when I was a fresh grad, just graduated from college and got my first job, and I made about $3,300 a month back then. The next tab is the expenses tab. Now as you see here, 10% of the salary has already been auto-calculated and put aside for savings for investments. Why? Because as Warren Buffett says, we want to spend what is left after we save, not save what is left after we've bought everything that we wanted to on a whim and gone out and paid our bills and all that stuff. Because the key to long-term financial success is to save every month regularly and invest it so that you get a return on that investment until one day your investments are so large that the returns on them can already fund your lifestyle. So you want to take aside 10% for that to begin with. Next is your rent. Now back when I started out, my rent was about $800 a month. My utilities, phone bill, everything that added up to about $150. Debt payments. Now I didn't have a student loan whereby I had to make cash payments, but what I did have is that I was obliged to work in a country, in my case Singapore, for 3 years. So I didn't have any cash payments to make, that was zero. Transport, we use public transport out here in Singapore, so I don't think I ever spend more than say $75 on that. Groceries, a month is 4 weeks. Even if you spend $100 a week, that's $400. It could be a little bit more, a little bit less. I'm not too big on eating out and that kind of stuff. Medical. Now here's where your employment situation comes into play. Now in my case, my visits to the doctor were free. I only had to copay $5. So every month, I don't visit the doctor every month, but even if I had to, I won't need more than $5 or even $10 just to be safe. Taxes. Now here's the big one. In my case, I have to pay taxes at the end, whereas in some countries, for example in the US, I was talking to my friend the other day, he said that the taxes are withheld by his employer and paid automatically. So what he sees in his account is after-tax income. But in my case, I have to set aside not more than $100 a month for taxes. Insurance. Now here's where the emergencies come into play. So what I found is that though I have insurance through my employer, it is better to get additional insurance because that insurance has a limit to how much it covers. What I found is that if I pay an extra $270 a year, which comes to per month, only about less than 50 bucks, but let's just say 50 bucks a month, I can get medical insurance whereby the insurance will pay the entire amount, the full amount. I don't have to pay anything out of pocket. So I can just set aside 50 bucks a month and not have to worry about any kind of medical emergency because I don't have to pay anything out of my own pocket in case of an emergency. Having said that, just in case there's any emergency that I did not foresee, I'll set aside 100 bucks for that a month and build up my emergency savings account. Long-term savings. Now here's where your long-term goals come into play. Are you looking to get married? Or if you're already married, are you looking to buy a house? If so, how much will you need for the down payment and in how much time frame? Right? So let's say you're saving 20,000, for example, for a down payment, just as a rough example, and you want to do it in 2 years, or let's just say 24,000, makes the math easier. In 2 years, that's 24 months. So that's about 1,000 a month, right? And you may or may not be able to afford that. So let's just say I'm just going to take 1,000 a month just as an example. And as you can see, my expenses are creeping up. They're almost already equal to my income, 3,300. Education. Now, some of us know that your education really only begins after you graduate from college. Unlike a lot of people who never read another book after university, what a lot of successful people will tell you is that they buy books, they invest in courses day after day, week after week, month after month, and they constantly keep learning and improving themselves. So it always pays to invest in yourself and keep learning, go out for seminars, pick up a new skill, and so on. Splurging, everybody's fun part. Now, how much do you want to set aside a month for, going out eating with friends or trying new stuff, going to the cinema, vacation, traveling? How much do you need for that? Let's say I'm going to put aside $200 a month for that. And lastly is charity. The more you give, the more you get back. And some of us, for those of us who are religious, it may be a religious thing as well. So let's just say I'm going to say $100 here, for example. Now, as you can see, my expenses are $3,400, right? And the net is going to tell me that the money I have left over, which is income minus expenses, is negative. Now that can be. What that means is I'm overspending. So I need to fix that. I need to be at least at zero, or ideally, I want to have some money left over, which I can invest, and then those returns can then compound and grow even faster. So I'm going to go back to my expenses. And the number one expense that I see that I can cut down is probably the long-term savings. So, and I'm going to maybe I have to wait a bit longer to buy a house, for example. So I'm going to cut this down to 700. So that brings my total expenses to 3,115. And what I find is that I have $185 left over, which I'm then going to channel towards my investments so that they generate some income for me and they grow faster. So I have $330 plus the $185 available to invest. Next, what this tab is going to show you is the different bank accounts that you need to open. So your first bank account is the investments account. So every month, $515 goes into that account for investing. This is the money that you invest in the markets, say, for example, the stock market, so that it generates a return and some cash flow for you, and then it can keep growing and compounding. Recurring payments. So these are the payments of bills that are incurred every month. Your telephone bill, your mortgage, your rent, of course. So the $950 comes from the $800 plus the utilities. And as you can see, all the bank accounts are color-coded. So the recurring payments is right here, the one in yellow, which is your rent, your utilities, electricity, phone, cable, etc., the ones that you pay every month. Likewise, you have necessities. That comes from transport, groceries, medical. That's in green. That's $485. Then you have annual payments. So that's your insurance premiums or any other payments that only come up annually. Maybe taxes, for example. Taxes are only paid annually as well. So these are annual payments. Then I have emergency savings. So these are savings I can tap on in case there's any unforeseen emergency. I need money for something. I can tap into this. Long-term savings, as we discussed, for a house, perhaps a car, new laptop, new cell phone every couple of years or so, or maybe every 3 years. You're going to need money for that. Education, right, to invest in yourself. You have $100 there. You can spend $200 every month guilt-free, whatever you like, going out, cinema, whatever else it is. And lastly, charity, to contribute to society. So once you have these, what you do is you open up bank accounts so that every month, the moment your salary comes in, these amounts are credited automatically, right, without you ever having to do anything. They're automatically deposited into the different accounts. Then what you have is you set up your credit card alert. This credit card alert, as you can see at the bottom here, comes about from your 785 comes from your necessities that you're allowed to spend every month, and then your education, which also you can spend every month, your splurging budget for a month, and charity. The reason this is important is because the credit card is the number one enabler of overspending. You could swipe all day long and then suddenly you realize that you spend way too much money. So what you want to do is you want to be alerted when you've spent money equivalent to how much your planning shows you can spend a month, right? So the moment you spend that, uh-oh, now I got to be really careful because I'm on the verge of overspending, and there's still, let's say, 8 days to go in the month. So I really got to play my cards really carefully here. So once you've done that, this gives you a much better picture of where it is that you want to spend so that your bills are taken care of and you can spend guilt-free. So what's the end result here? Now here's what I do. Once I've opened all these automatic savings accounts, I also automate my bill payments. So here's what that looks like. I get my paycheck on the 28th of the month, and then on the 1st of the next month, my money automatically goes into the different savings accounts that we just saw and we discussed. Then on the 3rd of the month, rent is automatically deducted from the relevant savings account. In this case, rent comes from the recurring payments account. My phone and internet bills are automatically charged to my credit card every month, so I never miss a payment. I'm never late. I don't even know on which day it happens anymore because it's been happening for so long. And as we discussed, the number one enabler of overspending is your credit card. So what I did is I reduced the credit limit on my card to my monthly spending goal. In our example, it was $785, less $100. So I reduced it to $685. So once that limit has been reached, the card is automatically going to reject transactions. And I'm going to know that I'm making a bad decision here, I'm overspending, and I really need to rethink this. A word of caution, since I live in Singapore, I've asked around several times and I've been told that reducing the credit limit on your card does not affect your credit score. But to the best of my knowledge, in the US, if you do this, it will negatively affect your credit score, which means if you go out and lease a car, you get a mortgage, or you get any kind of loan, your interest rates are going to be higher and you're going to end up paying more. So what you want to do instead is set up alerts so that you're automatically notified. Say even every week, you can set up alerts whereby if you spend more than, say, $150 a week or $200 a week, you automatically get notified. You can do that too. Lastly, if I buy a book or a course, I will have to use my education money from my education account to pay off my credit card before I make the purchase. Why? Because the credit limit on my card is limited to what I need for necessities and other monthly spending. When the taxes or insurance payments are due, they're automatically deducted from my annual payments account. Again, I've set it up automatically so that I never miss a payment. When the credit card bill is due, it too is paid off automatically. When there's a medical emergency, my insurance will pay the full amount. I have nothing to worry about. If I cannot work due to an illness, my insurance will keep paying me. And since I'm saving every month for investing, my investment portfolio has swelled to now almost 6 figures over the last 4 to 5 years. So as you can see, I have designed a system which makes it impossible for me to not meet my spending and savings goals. It's simply not possible. How can I do it? My credit card won't allow me to overspend, and I'm taken care of in case of emergencies. All the money planning happens automatically. I don't have to make decisions. I don't have to spend time. So there's no question of forgetting or feeling lazy. It just happens automatically without me. So your action steps is to grab a copy of my free cash flow planner. You can find it in the link right below this video. Then call your bank and tell them, I want to set up X number of no fees. You do not want to be paying fees in these automatic savings accounts. So you tell them you want to set up X number. I would say, start with 5 or 6, the ones that we discussed. Tell them you want to set up those 5 or 6 no fee automatic savings account with bill payments associated with them. Please help and tell me how I can do it. What is the process? Then you set up these automatic savings accounts, and since you filled out the cash flow planner for yourself, you will know how much money to channel into those accounts every month. And then set up automatic payments of all your bills. Some mistakes to avoid as you do this is that you make sure that all your accounts are funded before the bills are due. When I first started out, my rent was due before the money was deducted from a checking account and put into the recurring payments account. Now, if you do that, the bank may charge you a penalty fee. You don't want to be paying money unnecessarily. So a way to get around that is have some extra money in all your accounts before you set up the automatic payments. Okay? Or maybe for a month or two, you set up the automatic savings, but not yet the automatic bill payments. So you can make sure manually that you actually have money in the relevant accounts when the bills are due. And lastly, you will also find that you had some unexpected payments or purchases that you did not think of or you did not plan for. That's okay. It happens. You're not going to get it perfect the first time round. The most important thing is to start and then tweak it little by little until it works flawlessly. And once it does, trust me, it's one of the best feelings ever. To never have to worry about money, to never have to think twice whether or not you can afford something. You take one look at your bank account and you know exactly whether or not you have the money. So, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, learned something out of it. Do click on the link below and get yourself a copy of the cash flow planner. And do comment below about what you enjoyed, what you want to learn next, and whether or not you have any questions. And I'd love to help you out. Thanks.